Hi everyone. As we wait for others to join, I would like to talk about Netcore's benchmarking report, whose trailer video you have just seen. It's a massive report covering 5 regions and 19 industries. This is an extensive study of more than 100 billion emails. We are open for pre-booking now. Book your copy. Now let's start our FPLOE session. Hi, I am Smita Kaushik, AVP Netcore Labs, and I'm thrilled to welcome all of you to the 4th episode of FPLOE Thursdays, Season 2. As you already know, we have been talking about Email 2.0 in this season. And for this particular episode, we are bringing a very novel concept, which is a very interesting and industry-defining topic that we are going to talk about. Today's session is centered on Progency, which stands for Product-Led Agency. Nicholas Einstein, VP Product Marketing, and I, in today's session, are going to take you through various facets of Progency. First, we are going to introduce you to the concept. Then we are going to talk about the industry need. And later, we will explore few use cases with extensive examples. And finally, we'll conclude with the scope of Progency at large. Over to you, Nick.
Smita, thank you very much. I am delighted to be here and excited to be discussing this topic, which I think, as you mentioned, is really an exciting one. Smita, can you confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes, Nick, we can see your screen. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Lovely. Delighted to be here again and again discussing Progency. We've been going through Email 2.0. I think this is really a critical component of it, and one that is going to help you as marketers really take best advantage of it. So I'm really excited. I am really excited to discuss it. And what is Progency? Progency is the product-led agency. It's a mixture of kind of left brain, right brain skills coming together to drive business outcomes. And it's a new paradigm. I think we're all familiar with the traditional agency paradigm. We're familiar with the traditional SaaS paradigm. Progency kind of brings those together in a way to really drive business outcomes for marketers in the most efficient and effective ways. I'm again very excited about it. Outcomes based. We'll hit on that too in a minute. Excuse me. A full service approach. Everything from campaign development, strategy, creative, content design, combined with the coding, QA, analytics together, tightly aligned again with the business, and so focused on KPIs, not on billable hours and things, that it's priced often on a performance basis. So again, very tightly aligned with the business. And Smita and I are gonna dig through some of these common use cases, but often we see Progency coming in to augment existing internal teams, as well as other agency teams to drive many common use cases that often either get ignored or don't get enough resources allocated to them, and ones that in today's climate especially can drive real business results. And we'll talk about those in a minute, and I look forward to it. The industry need, and I know that many of you out there are feeling it, but we have gone through a period of change over the past several years. It has been undoubtedly extraordinarily difficult for most of us, and tragic, really, in many cases. But we're at a place today where more people are spending more time online, more people are spending more of their disposable income online. They're shopping less in stores and more through e-commerce, and at the same time, many of us on the brand side and those who are executing campaigns are going through transitions too, with finding the right people to do the work and transitioning. And so there is a real need we see in the space right now for this Progency concept, and for these programs to be led by a kind of a product-led agency. And so I speak weekly with industry analysts. I also run our analyst relations function here. And so I'm on the phone every week with analysts who echo the sentiment and are telling me. I was on the phone last week with Mike McGuire, who from Gartner, who reiterated that brands today really and marketers really need an extension of their team to help them drive some of these key outcomes and capitalize on many of the opportunities that we face today, right? Again, more people online, more people spending online, more of a reliance on first-party data, and so making the most higher acquisition costs across the board. I just came from 2 conferences this week. I was in Boston last week, and then Palm Springs this week, e-tail and an e-commerce summit. The Apple privacy and a lot of the macro forces are just higher customer acquisition costs. And so we need to do more with what we have. And Progency is focused on doing just that. And so a little bit of data here. These data come from Gartner's 2001 Executive Marketer Survey. It's 350 leaders of digital marketing. They slice and dice by vertical and a lot of different ways. But this one, most recent data from Gartner, and what they indicate here is that agencies are relied upon today. Brands and marketers need agencies to help them, and 23% report, depending on agencies and third party, for most activity. 36% depend on agencies for execution, and 26% down at the bottom here, largely done in-house. But what we see is a large reliance on outsourcing. But as Smita and I will discuss in a minute, for some of these things, agencies might not be the perfect partner, again, for several reasons, and we'll discuss that, why maybe we at Netcore have a better solution here, and again, not to replace agencies, but augment. One of the big reasons here, again, I alluded to it a moment ago, I know you on the line are feeling it too. It is very hard to hire qualified people to execute our programs, certainly, but also from conceptualized through execution, it is difficult to find highly qualified personnel to support our efforts. And 24% say it's a moderate challenge here, 24% it's significant, 39 moderate, it's a top 3 challenge to just executing marketing strategy. We can't find enough highly qualified people, and often, in my experience, and Smita, I'm sure you could agree, oftentimes, especially when it comes to kind of the execution level, and oftentimes in the email channel, there is some turnover in those roles. Oftentimes, email marketing managers aren't always, can often matriculate through an org and move between digital marketing focuses, and everyone, again, the great resignation, people are moving in and out. So it's hard to find highly qualified people to support digital marketing efforts, and it's even harder to find them who have real deep knowledge about the tools they're using to execute those programs. And that's a critical component here, I think, of Progency is being able to really execute efficiently with high velocity and be able to test and learn and use those tools to maximum benefit. It's a big piece of the puzzle here. Again, these are just these same data, 2019 over 2021, and I just posit here that the 22 data, when it comes out next year, will be the bar will be even higher here, because it's getting harder and harder. Right.
Also, I think churn and internal learning curve also leads to some delays in the execution of the program. So what is your opinion on that?
Of course, it all the time, and we see it. I think we see it on a daily basis. If just even executing basic digital marketing efforts, we're talking about just optimizing campaigns, testing testing offers, testing subject lines, even basic A/B testing. Not all of us don't do as much as we wish we could. And oftentimes we don't do it fast enough, to your point there, Smita. And it's getting harder and harder for us, for sure. And on the flip side, it is more important for us to do so than ever before. We more people are engaging online than ever before. We just released a great benchmark report on personalization, where the data indicate that people who audiences who are receiving highly personalized content are more responsive than ever before. But often we don't have the resources in-house to actually do those personalization, execute on those efforts. And I know we all wish we could. And we all need to be efficient about our budgets and spend. But when it's hourly rates with an agency doing it, then maybe we have to make other decisions. So that's why I'm so excited about what we're talking about today, for sure. And again, all of these other pieces, delivering personalized experiences, I think the other boxes here are where the biggest deltas are. But all of these different components, they take time, they take effort, and they take a solid knowledge of the platforms that we're using, and that's what we're talking about with Progency. Even using AI and ML, which is, I think, all of us as marketers, we understand is so critical today to making best use of all of these volumes of customer data that we have. And I like the top answer here is we don't have enough. Our existing technology is working, and I think that for those of us who don't need AI and ML, then either maybe our use cases those are high data, and I think those might change. I would posit, Smita, and maybe you might agree, over the next several years, as the volumes of data increase, many of us will change our minds about the AI. But many of us in the space, I think, are leveraging AI, but many of us don't have the staff and the people in place. And obviously at Netcore, I think we get recognized as having AI nicely built through our workflow. But oftentimes we just don't have the staff and the people on hand to just execute on those, to leverage those propensity, audiences and
I think the first two reasons are interlinked. At times, marketers think that existing technologies are enough because they have not tried the other side of it. And the second reason points out why it is happening, because they don't have enough expertise or technical staff to try these things out.
I buy it 100%. And again, I think part of that has also been on the vendors side, who have not made AI really usable for marketers. And I'm very proud to say that we at Netcore do put it right in the hands of marketers, which is important too. But AI, ML, obviously very important to differentiating in the inbox and beyond. And one of the top reasons marketers aren't doing it is because they don't have that trusted partner to help them do it. And then again, just to kind of close it out on the data here, but again, we're outsourcing a lot of stuff to agencies. Brands and marketers are, understandably so. There are good reasons for doing that, and there are good reasons for doing it across the marketing functions. Social is often outsourced, although I think many times that's one that should maybe be less. SEO and SEM also. Email marketing, 43% as a reaction to the events. And again, we live in a different time now than just a few years ago, and it's all of us need to rethink our marketing strategies. All of us are reallocating resources in different ways, and we just launched a poll, and I encourage you to take it. But all of us need to do react in different ways, and one of those is in email, right? And doing more in email. Again, customer acquisition costs through the roof. Making best use of the assets we have, first-party data assets, is critical. And email is one of those absolute, critical places to be allocating those resources. With that.
So this is a very interesting question that we have discussed internally, externally with our customers as well. Given that brands can, of course, execute many of these use cases themselves, and they are already partnered up with creative agencies who can drive creative part of things. Still, why do we think that product companies are going to be a better fit to drive this? You largely spoke about it's the combination of right brain and left brain, but still we feel that product companies are going to take this wave ahead. What are your thoughts on this?
So I couldn't be in greater agreement there. I think, being interwoven with the product provides several key advantages: velocity, the ability to execute, the ability to leverage. It's an important differentiator. Agencies generally, and again, there is a place for agencies, but generally from a tech perspective, they are relatively agnostic. Even those that have a focus in certain places will never have the same degree of integration and familiarity and just skill with the platform that those who are part of the platform will have. And so that deep skill is critical. I think one thing that really excites me about Progency here is agencies, and I use them myself. They have high hourly rates. One has to worry about, manage that and manage, our projects versus our ensure we're getting ROI from those efforts. and those rates are often higher, high, if we're, they operate on that traditional engagement model where agent, you have a retainer and you're working towards projects and you're going back and forth. And I think, Smita, you tell me, I think there are some really big advantages from our model.
And in most of the cases, when we follow an agency model, it's not outcome based. It's mainly project based pricing that is available. But with Progency, we are taking a shift. We are not focused on the number of campaigns, but we are more focused on the results those campaigns are achieving, and we'll be charging on that basis. So that's a big change from the engagement model that exists as of now.
And that's one of the most exciting things. We are tightly aligned with the business, ensuring that the KPIs, we're focused on KPIs, not billable hours, which is a shift, and one that I think is welcome in the space.
And of course, when we talk about brands, there are obvious advantages that brands have when they are working with a product-led agency. First one is most of the brands, they understand their particular industry, but we have the aggregate knowledge of working in multiple industries and understand what kind of content, what kind of technology works overall. And we can bring that kind of knowledge into this ecosystem. And also something which is very underrated, but is an important consideration piece, is that in an outsourced model, the number of overheads are really low. So mainly marketing teams in a particular brand will be driving these initiatives. And if they are going for any kind of tech integration, their dependency on their tech team or their product team increases. But that is not the case with Progency. In the second episode of FTLOE Thursday, we had Akhil from Big Basket who spoke about this, that why they tried atomic rewards with Netcore, because the dependency was limited. Everything was outsourced to Netcore, and Netcore can execute it end to end. Same thing, same idea applies to everything that we are trying to execute under Progency. And aside from it, because it's a contract-based, it's an outcome-based relationship, the trials and exit for a brand is much easier. If they can try it out, if it works for them, they can extend it. But if they try to build something similar in-house, a lot of effort and time goes into it, and it's difficult to measure that outcome when they are planning for it. And later on, if it doesn't work, exit becomes very difficult. So for all these reasons, even for brands, it makes a lot of sense that they outsource something that can be taken over by Progency.
Couldn't agree more.
So as this leads us to our next segment, which is where we can explain how Progency will work as an extension of the brand rather than a separate identity in itself. Would love to hear your thoughts again on this.
Yeah, and again, I think I had a conversation very recently with the analysts. I have them weekly, and what brands, especially in today's climate, and marketers need is a true extension of their team. And for many of the reasons we hit on before, churn, new programs coming out, the ability to leverage what we have, the extension of the team is required. And oftentimes, one of the core reasons why they need an extension of the team is to learn the marketing technology and the technology stack that is currently in place. And as we all know, training takes time and learning takes time. But by having an extension of the team that is already well versed in the operation of execution, as well as conceptualization, as well as the ability to leverage learnings, expertise from across brands and across business verticals and across channels, Progency can act as a very valuable extension of the brand and a very valuable kind of partner. And again, Smita, I think we're both, very excited, which is why this is a core component of what we're the umbrella of email 2.0. It's really critical to capitalizing on that email 2.0 opportunity.
Sure. So now we have, as we have covered the concept, can we move on to few of the use cases, few of the critical areas where you feel Progency can have an immense amount of impact?
For sure. And I think, the list of use cases now is pretty long, but I think is growing exponentially over time. And I think, it's only limited by our imagination here, because there are a lot of ways in which I think Progency can help drive business value and better customer experiences, obviously, in the long run. One of them is through M's, and that's a concept I think we introduced on a previous episode recently and have discussed more since. But micro content and stories, I think, since many of us who have in the past been more focused on conversion with every message have now realized that conversation is as important to drive ongoing engagement in the inbox, and especially now or through the pandemic with less retail and more e-commerce. We need to recreate some of those e-commerce experiences in the inbox, and M's are a very powerful concept. I think we've done a lot of testing around it. We've realized some significant results about driving habitual behaviors in the inbox, micro content delivered at the same time in a way that drives value and not always driving towards conversion. So customer-centric messaging. We've done a lot of testing around it and realized some really great results. Excited to share more and more about them. But short emails, micro content, just mobile centric, easily consumable, informative, not necessarily always trying to drive towards a sale, but driving relevance and value, connecting with audiences, a fresh format, changing it up, making in same time every day, driving the habit, but changing up the format, making it fresh and story-based. So building series and building on previous content. We have found real value in driving attention and streaks in engagement, and it's an interesting concept. You can maybe take a screenshot here. There'll be a recording of the deck too, but this list of examples could be a mile long too, based on business vertical and one's imagination too, because M's can deliver a lot of value and showcase a lot of different types of content based on use case and business goal, right?
So definitely one objective that can be fulfilled via M's is retention, because once you start conversing with your user, and not just in a transactional or a promotional manner, the chances of retaining them and educating them is much higher. But what about reactivation? If we want to use,
yeah, right. So so there are two pieces to that you obviously hit on there, Smita. One is driving, activity and habituating experiences and driving ongoing positive experiences to prevent people from becoming inactive. And that's something as marketers, we all need to do a better job of engaging our audiences early and ensuring they stay engaged. And so But we find ourselves today in the climate with somewhat of a attention recession, with many a large percentage of our audiences not paying attention to the existing messaging that we're sending them. Some of us with up 50% of our audience can be sitting in that inactive file, and M's can be a very powerful vehicle for reactivating many of those audiences, sending them something completely new, fresh, valuable, easily consumable. It's again a very powerful concept for not only driving activity, getting people engaged with one's program, but also re-engaging them, reactivating dormant audiences. And Smita, as you're alluding to, it's a very big opportunity because again, customer acquisition costs are very high. Many of us have a file of some enormous of inactives who can be reactivated through this concept. So exciting from both the perspective of getting people active and engaged, but also reactivating for sure.
Also, if I have to draw another parallel, it's that to vertical content. So in email industry, mostly we were focused on larger content being delivered via email. And of course, it's very educational. And that's why most of the industry and companies continue to do so. But a parallel in this context is we always had YouTube and the landscape video format. So even if we look at our phones now, we have that icon where you can transition to landscape video format to watch such videos. But still, TikTok and Snapchat and Instagram Reels led the path towards vertical video consumption. So that there is something there that most of the people, they are on their screen, as you already pointed, but many of the time they are on their mobile screens. That's why a content that is consumable in a single mobile fold becomes much more intrinsic to driving attention than something else. And that brings me to our success story that we saw in India for EMS of Kotak 811. It's a very interesting case study, particularly because BFSI sector is known to send out a large chunk of information within a single email. And of course, it's the need of the industry. When it comes to money, you want all the information. But as I already pointed it out, it becomes very difficult to consume all that information in a single go. So we tried this very interesting campaign with Kotak 811, where we divided those chunk of information in series of emails. And ultimately, we saw a 40% increase in opens and subsequent opens. So that's the proof that EMS leads to such enhanced performance in campaigns. So definitely EMS is a very interesting use case. And now we'll move to our second use case.
So I think migrations and tech support are another one where Progency can step right in and become a critical component of driving business value more efficiently and more quickly. And many of us who are the analysts would agree, over the past several years, there have been we've had other things to worry about besides new technology and implementing new programs. And oftentimes, doing so requires outside support. And those who are tightly aligned with the product are often best suited to doing those tasks. And so Progency can really help in this area too. Smita, you have a thought?
Definitely. So before commenting on it, I would like to move forward to our example. Can you move to the next slide? So One of such areas where tech integration or the expertise become really important is around AMP or interactive emails. So we tried a very interesting case study with Your Story, which is a media platform focused on startup, and they are quite massive in this part of the world. Aside from their platform, they also conduct a lot of online and offline events. And they were driving these registrations via normal emails where you send a simple form and then it gets redirected. If you'll play the first video, we can see the contrast. Yeah. So this is normal email where there's some amount of information, then you click on register now, and you are redirected to another page. And as we know, it as a basic principle of design everywhere, once you are redirected, there are high bounces. And with AMP, by providing interactivity within the emails, if we can see the result now. So we helped Your Story in enabling AMP within their emails where these data, registration data, can be captured within the email itself. And we saw a massive jump of 5.5x in the number of registration. So even though this level of performance enhancement can happen, still majority of companies are not yet using these. So that leads to your point, and maybe you can elaborate more on this, that why this is happening.
I'll tell you, Smita, again, I was talking about it this week at the ETL conference. Many platforms, including many of the top platforms in the space, including Netcore Cloud, support AMP for email, and we have for a long time. The issue is it requires a different skill set to execute, and AMP has been around for several years. 2018, maybe it was announced by Google and supported by Gmail, in full, and delivers some amazing inbox experiences. We're seeing one here from Your Story. A simple change in the subscription flow can drive enormous results in the business. This is a simple sign up, product carousels, orders. There are a bunch of feedback loops. There are a bunch of different use cases that we can execute through AMP that can drive a tremendous business value. Absolutely, and I think I was on stage in front of a big audience this week, and I asked how many people had AMP implemented campaigns right now, and the not many hands were going up. And it's because we just don't have, as marketers, the skill sets in-house to execute, test and learn, and drive these campaigns. And we see that it's a recognized need in the space, and I'm delighted to report that we at Netcore are going to fill right in there with this Progency concept to help enable AMP especially, and drive real business value through interactive email. And I think it's exciting, an exciting concept, and looking forward to testing it with many more of you. I think we're going to see big results here.
So this brings us to our final use case. So far, we have talked largely about reactivation and retention, but Progency can also help in closing the sales cycle also. And that concept we are calling is contextual selling. So of course, initially we also talked about there's an agency side of thing, and then there's a product side of things. Creativity is not going to go anywhere. Of course, there's no substitute for great content. But what tech companies can do is that they can help deliver that amazing content to the right audience at the right moment of time so that it leads to immediate action. Gone are those days where large cola companies of the world used to spend months of research into finding that perfect messaging that will appeal to everyone at large. So now we have the power and the technology where we can curate specific story for specific user. And it's not just limited to a certain small segment of user. Now we are talking about segments of one. We can cater story with directly to you, Nick, based on your usage, based on the kind of products you like, the kind of context you are in, and fit right in and lead to immediate purchases. One such example, and we also spoke about it earlier when you showed the kind of use cases ENS can have. And my favorite ones among them are checklists. So when you start sending out checklist, it urges users to fulfill those checklists. So for example, if there's a beach holiday season going on in a particular part of the world, and you already know that these are some of the user based on past purchases are interested in going to beach or purchasing products that are related to it. You start sending them short series of mails saying checklist for clothes, for accessories, for personal care. And that will lead to immediate action, and it won't be a pushed selling. You are actually educating them, or maybe in checklist cases, you are reminding them. And that's why it leads fits into their context, and that leads to a sale right there. So not just in terms of retention and reactivation, it can also substitute the ad tech budget that you have for repeat purchases and brings it to Martech ecosystem.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. And one of the critical, right message, right audience, right time, right? And it sounds trite. We've said it for years, but that really it's been a story until now. We've been talking about it till now, but now we have the technology and the data to execute on that, and it is so exciting.
So this concludes our use cases. Although there are many more use cases, we would love to explore them. And we are expanding the entire universe of Progency. We are open to ideas. If any of you have any other ideas for which you would want to use Progency, do write to us, do let us know. We would love to chat about it.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think the future for Progency at large is bright. There are a lot of these use cases where I think, and I look forward to engaging in a dialogue with those on the line and in the marketplace. But there are a ton of use cases where Progency can really help by, again, having that detailed product knowledge, access to this systems immediately, access to all of those signals, and focused on the KPIs, focused on the business results, and rewarded based on those, which is I think a welcome model in the space. So
Nick, before we move on to questions, we have received multiple questions. Do you have any parting thoughts for us?
So parting thoughts, I think, again, these are such, the past 2 years have been crazy, and it would be, course for me to be excited about the state of everything right now. But so with that we find ourselves today in a landscape where more people are spending more time on buying things online they never would have even bought before. And so there are more people, 30% Forrester reports are spending more money online. We know, again, based on our benchmark report, based on the data we have, and we've just recently released a benchmark report, that well executed, highly personalized campaigns are driving more value for you as marketers than ever before. And we also see data that poorly executed campaigns that don't leverage personalization or leverage personalization in a not to maximum benefit aren't as well received, and people can ignore those and move to become inactive and worse. So these are times where it is important. I think I was at 2 conferences this week, again, e-tail and an e-commerce conference in Boston, where there's a lot of urgency right now in the space. Customer acquisition costs are higher, more people are acting online and spending online. And so we as brands and marketers need to do more with what we have. And again, we have our internal teams need to work harder. Our agencies need to work harder. And I think there is really an exciting new place here for this Progency to come in and attack some of these KPIs on a performance basis, work tightly with the technology, right brain, left brain, and bring some truly innovative solutions. We looked at some of the, AMP and email, EMS, and the list goes on. And so I think I'm very excited about the potential for Progency to drive business results and positive customer experiences. So a lot of opportunity, and Smita, I look forward to discussing this and many of the other concepts around email 2.0 much more with you and this audience moving forward too.
So I'll just take cues from your parting thoughts and pick up the questions that are more that flows directly from it. So one is, how will a Progency external team, of course it's an external team for a brand, how it can work smoothly with brands' internal teams?
Yep. And so open lines of communication are I think the critical component. Clear KPIs are another one. But in many cases, Netcore Cloud has an existing relationship with many of the top brands out there, and we're working tightly with them anyway on many programs. And so ensuring that clear communication on KPIs, I think is the critical one, because Progency is driving towards KPIs. Obviously, adhering to all the brand standards and those sort of things, that's just table stakes, and we do that every day. But open lines of communication and clear KPIs, and then trust in some and clear measurement. Let's not forget that, Smita. And I think a lot of what this is about is measuring the business outcomes, being accountable to those business outcomes, and driving towards them. So ensuring that we have the measurement tied up, I think is another key one, but interested to hear your thoughts too.
Definitely. Then I think we have the right strategy in place, because since the moment we started thinking about Progency, we thought about measurable outcome. The entire model is based on outcomes. And that's why the chances of Progency working as a model it's going to be very seamless, because you have already agreed upon KPIs that have to be met. There are not many qualitative aspects to it, and that's why the chances of contention between the two parties reduces. But another interesting question that we have received, which brings a very interesting facet to this entire conversation. So brands, they are already partnered up with agencies. And of course, when you outsource something, there's a certain amount of friction, certain amount of delays that goes on when more parties are involved. And now when we are talking about Progency, so here's the question. Adding that extra layer, will it lead to delays in campaign execution? Then in that case, would Progency still be a better model to go with?
Yeah, so I think I understand the question for sure, and that's coming from someone who's been through it. So I hear that loud and clear, and I think it's actually for what it is. I think it can help the agency relationship too, because I don't think many agencies are expert in many of the use cases that we as the Progency are looking to take over here. Some of these use cases are specialized use cases that the agency may very well not even necessarily be be expert in or want to be working on. And I think the Progency can actually do things much faster because there's a deep ingrained understanding of the technology. B, I think in many of these cases, and interested to hear your thoughts, Smita, it's kind of template based. I don't want to say it's cookie cutter, because it is not, but there are recognized strategies that have been optimized to work, and like EMS, and Progency is looking towards activating many of those kind of templatized strategies that we know have been optimized, that may go through the sounding boards and the brainstorming rooms of the agencies, whereas the Progencies are in a left brain, right brain way, taking those approaches and acting on them and executing them, and testing and learning and optimizing on them. And so I think I understand the question. I think it's a great question. But I think Progency actually helps accelerate time to value in a lot of these key use cases that we've identified, and many more that I think are coming down the pike, and probably allows the agency to go do more what they're better at doing, which is focusing on some of those other strategic initiatives, which and billing their hours, and allowing the Progency to focus on some of those more performance-based projects. And I really do think that accelerates time to value, not provides more delay. Interested to hear your thoughts.
Definitely, this goes back to the fact what we have been discussing so far, and I feel maybe we were not very explicit during the entire length of the talk, so I want to restate it, that this is not a this or that situation. Of course, brands are taking their own strategic initiatives. Agencies are helping them with the creative aspects of things and some performance-based aspect as well. But where Progency Act is more in terms of specific use cases which are getting neglected in current ecosystem. That's why it's adding to the ecosystem rather than subtracting from it or being a replacement for anything else.
That's right. You're exactly right there, Smita. And if we weren't clear enough about that, and that's why it helps hit on some of those key data points we shared at the top from Gartner. We act as that extension of the team. It's incremental, and one of the real bonuses, again, we've hit on it several times. It's not just it's not an incremental. It's only incremental. It's incremental return on investment, really, because it's focused on performance based, and that's, I think, a very exciting component of it. Ability to execute on many more use cases.
So we have many more questions, but in the interest of time, we'll take one last question, which is more action oriented, and I think it will help a lot of our viewers today. The question is, how can someone get started with Progency? Is there a pilot program in place?
So we would love to talk more about Progency. We've run, Smita ran through a couple use cases where we're digging in with customers right now and executing and driving big results. You saw, we have several others that we can share if you want to follow up, but yes, absolutely, we can get started today, tomorrow. It's 6 p.m., 7 p.m. now in
India.
IST,
Yeah.
but we can get started today in
US.
in the US time later on this morning if you're interested. So absolutely, we can get started immediately and look forward to working on it right now. Smita?
So let's make this our last message. We are ready to go live with Progency. We would love to hear from all our audience, all our customers, all our clients. And if there are any other suggestion for aside from the use cases that we have discussed today, we would love to engage on that as well. And this ends our 4th episode for FTLOE Thursdays. We'll see you again on 17th of March for our 5th episode. Thanks a lot, Nick, for taking the trouble to join in very early in the morning, and really thankful for your thoughts today.
It's been a great conversation, Smita. Thank you for making it happen, and thank everyone for joining, and looking forward to discussing this so much more over the next several weeks.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, everyone.